Meditators, today we've got a great conversation lined up with plenty of insight into the world of NFT gaming. Sharing his knowledge with us today is Kieran Warwick. Kieran is a serial entrepreneur with his latest venture, Illuvium, aiming to be the first play-to-earn title with truly modern graphics. The NFT gaming sector is exploding, and I love Kieran's vision of building a game that could be played solely for the enjoyment whilst also sharing in the benefits of truly owning your in-game assets. If you want to help me own some assets, remember to like and subscribe below. To stay one with the crypto markets, sign up and get 6 free market meditations newsletters a week. You'll find a link in the description below. I'll start with easy topic, something I've been thinking a lot about recently and trying to understand better, and that is just play to earn gaming in general. It's a lot of people saying it's changing the world, it's changing the way video games are happening, but I don't think it's hugely new. I mean, the means of execution is new, but for a while, people in like South America, certain parts of Asia have been making a full-time living playing games like RuneScape, where you can make decent money, sell the gold. I'm not sure if you're familiar, so what's changed now? What is different about this wave of being able to earn money through gaming?
So you're right. There's always been a way for gamers to get around essentially selling their account or selling the things that make that account valuable. The issue is that it's almost in every single case against the publisher's terms and conditions. So you leave yourself subject to potential bans, which in the case of grinding for years and putting your blood, sweat and tears into it, and then all of a sudden you go to try and cash in on that, and you're doing it on a black market where it just doesn't feel right, and B, you have the potential of that publisher figuring it out and putting a ban on your account, which leads you to have no ability to cash in on that, and then obviously you lose the ability to play the game as a whole. So how that changes with NFTs, it's actually giving ownership back to the player, and sorry, not back to the player, it's giving true ownership to the player. And so you can verify that those, whatever it is, whether it be an in-game asset, a weapon, or an enhancement, a potion, doesn't matter what it is, you can verify that that is inside your wallet, which is owned by you. And 99 times out of 100, these games make it very accessible in terms of creating their own marketplaces for you to be able to go and sell those assets to another player that's coming in, or another player that's interested in what you've got to sell. And so yeah, it's created this new sense of ownership where you don't mind putting in more of your own currency, because you know that there's going to be a potential to have some upside on that, or at the very least sell it for some amount to try and capture some value out of your playtime.
Did you ever play Yu-Gi-Oh or Magic the Gathering?
I played Magic the Gathering, not I only played the card game of Magic, but not Yu-Gi-Oh.
So this will be perfect then. If you played the card game of Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh's not too dissimilar, just a simpler, not as good game. What tend to happen is you'd have seasons and ever-changing meta games, because a certain set of cards would come out, and normally the newest cards that came out would be the best. So old cards, even though you own these Yu-Gi-Oh cards, the old ones you used to own eventually become worse, because over time the game develops in a way which makes these cards worse, and certain ones won't hold value, especially if they're just for strength and not for rarity. But that's an example of where, even though you own these cards, you can do whatever you want with them, just like you would have ownership over an NFT, because the game develops in such a way, the value shifts. Now, in what way is this mitigated with NFT gaming? And because of that, doesn't it in a way mean you don't have true ownership, because you don't control how the game develops, and the game could develop in a way which affects the thing which you own?
Yes, that is definitely a potential, but I guess if we boil it down, what we're trying to create with digital ownership is exactly what you do get with the tangible card that is a physical asset that you own because you're holding it, right? And so just making that distinction there, that's exactly what an NFT does, right? And previously in games, you've got the asset, but you don't have the physical asset, right? And so card games are a little bit different, and you can certainly prove that you have that value there. However, in our case, and again, I can't speak for other games, and there is the potential for characters in some games to get worse over time. It's not how it works in Illuvium. We essentially, in the auto battler genre, the most important thing is balancing out the characters, and so there's not actually there's obviously higher tier characters, but there's always going to be the same level and the same normalization of characters, whereby your 5-year-old character isn't going to become worthless. In fact, it's the exact opposite. It needs to remain balanced at all times in order for the auto battler to not break, essentially.
Okay, then following this, let's go into Illivium. Before we jump into the game itself, which I'm really excited to talk about, this timing is perfect to come out with an NFT-based game. Did you guys spot the trend early? And because I know you're a very successful entrepreneur who loves building businesses, did you spot this opportunity in the market, the developing trend? Did you dive in once the trend had already developed? What was the thought process behind building this game, or did you just want to build a game?
I was basically looking at the market, and I was going to build something in DeFi, and I stumbled across Axie Infinity, and it was in the very, very early days. And I think I bought it was something crazy. I bought like $3,000 worth straight away, and because I wanted to, I wanted to see if you actually what an NFT was, and if you actually had that ownership. And then I found that they had an exchange, and you could literally, and these Axies were very liquid. Like, considering, the trading cards and what was out there, they were fairly regularly traded, and so I looked at this, and it had barely taken off, but I just couldn't avoid, I knew that this whole concept of being able to actually own the assets in game, and then on top of that, they had this in-game yield, which made me even more bullish on it, because I was like, okay, so they're just giving tokens away to people for playing a game. Like, there's no way that can't catch on with people. And then I really started thinking, okay, well, these games are fairly remedial. You're not going to get a ridiculous amount of gameplay in mainstream gaming, because this game is there's 50 of these types of games that are out there. But if we could bring a real AAA, like a Fortnite, a World of Warcraft, any of these huge titles that are in mainstream, if you could attach play to earn to that, then we're going to be in a really, really good place. And so that's all we've been trying to do, right? Just bring mainstream quality to crypto games, and also have the same tokenomics models that a lot of other play to earn games have.
Yeah, it's a solid thesis that it's hard to argue against or disprove that this is going to be. I mean, ceteris paribus, I've got a game where I can own my own assets, and I've got a game that even lets me earn money, but I don't have that ownership over the assets. Every single time I'm going to choose the other game, let alone the fact that any game can become somewhat play to earn if you design it with these this in-game economy, tokenomics in mind. So Where did you guys begin? Because I would love to at some point just do a fun project where I build a game, get a team together, and do it. Just simply because it's incredibly. It sounds like a really amazing thing to put out into the world, something which is going to give people so much entertainment and joy. Where do you guys begin? How do you decide what sort of game to build? What sort of team to put together? Like, where does the process begin? Where did you guys begin?
Yeah, so the first thing was I saw this game, and then I went and saw a couple of other games in the space, and I started getting really, really excited. And the first thing that I thought about was building a collection style game, an NFT game, but nowhere near the quality of what we're going with Illuvium. And so I immediately went to Von Neumann, who's our only anonymous person on the project. And I went to him and I said, look, dude, you're an incredible artist. He's one of the best CGI artists in the world. And I said, can you create me basically a set of characters that look better than this? And can you do it in like 6 weeks? And and so we started off there, and he was like, obviously I can do better characters than what I showed him. And
So, Kieran, can I interrupt just to understand? You just told him make some characters. Was that in like no context or behind it? You just said make characters better than this.
this is what's out there. This is worth $100 million or whatever. Are you capable? And obviously you dangle the carrot of $100 million, and then you've got one of the best artists in the world looking at something that he could draw in literally 14 seconds. It becomes a very, very large carrot that you're dangling in front of someone. And it was him who basically said, okay, well, let's, like, obviously we can do better than this, but let's go AAA on this. And I hadn't even heard of, I didn't even know what AAA was. And obviously it's a term that's coined for very, very large scale projects in gaming that have, the resources, not just from a money standpoint, but from a team standpoint and the skills. And he basically said, I think we should go AAA. If you think we can raise all this money, let's get Aaron involved. And so Aaron is our other co-founder, and he is the genius behind the game design. And he basically said, Von Neumann and I were very much collectors and Pokemon fans. And Aaron was like, I don't want to go anywhere near that. I didn't ever play Pokemon. I don't really understand how people can like it that much. But he wanted to build a strategy game, and one of his favorite titles is Teamfight Tactics from League of Legends. And so we just got in a room one day, or this was over like 4 or 5 day period, and we just couldn't agree. And so we all ended up saying, okay, well, let's just put our favorite elements of that we all want into this. And then that basically is what turned out to be Illuvium.
So it's a combination of teamfight tactics, and you guys really like Pokemon. And you mentioned Auto Battler. Now, I think I know what Auto Battler means. I've played Hearthstone and a game called Minion Masters. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but these are where you play cards or summon monsters, and they automatically enter the field and start battling.
Yeah, I wasn't aware that Hearthstone had one, but essentially it is that. So you're basically strategically placing characters on the board, you don't control them, and they will automatically start fighting for you. Where the skill comes in is being able to putting out the strongest team that you have available to you that can ideally counter your opponent also.
How do you begin with a game, man? Like you've now come up with the concept, you know what elements you want to build into this universe, but it's got to be so difficult to have that normal baseline of balance within the game that with so many different variables involved. How do you structure and design that?
So yeah, as I said, our game designer, my brother Aaron, he he said early on, he was freaking out. He was basically like, look, what if I can't do this? And I'm like, look, I know for a fact that A, you've been addicted to team fight tactics for the past 7 years. So if anything that you can get from that, it's that you'll be able to redesign that game. And I'm like, surely, I know what you're like. You would have reached out to the developers and said like, hey, let's do this and this better. And he's like, yeah, actually I did do that. And I'm like, that's what I'm saying. I know you haven't completed in terms of like delivered a game before, but he's written multiple storylines before that we knew were good enough to fit around a game. And then on top of that, he's designed a bunch of different games. He's just never gone through with actually building it. And that's why we make such a good team, because I think at the beginning he was kind of, not convinced of his own skill. And I knew for a fact that he could build out a game design that would rival those of mainstream gamers. He's just that smart, and he's just that in tune with the other games that are out there. And so I basically said to him, just sit down, continue building it, go as long as it takes, and I guarantee you when you come back, we'll have a game design doc that is of very, very high quality. And that's what happened.
I've noticed this so much with entrepreneurs that often the common trait isn't a certain level of intelligence, it's not a certain type of talent, it's simply the ability to see something and know that I can do that too. Because things really are, it's not as difficult as most people think it is to do. The hardest part is actually going and doing it, because most people don't take that first step to go do something and realize that any problem that comes up, you can solve it. So how difficult was it to build the tokenomics into the game? Because normally in traditional gaming, and I'm sure you worked with some people from the traditional gaming world, you don't actually have to take that token economy into consideration. How did that change things? Did that come up in conversation when you were deciding what type of game to build? What things have you learned that's important for games with in-game economies and tokenomics?
I think the biggest thing is sustainability, right? With all with the tokenomics, right? That the biggest problem that I see right now is that a lot of people are building their games solely around their tokenomics. And what I mean by that is they have a value in the token, and then they basically say that we're going to distribute that token to people who play, right? And I think the mark that is missed in this initial stage, and it's like everything, right? Like there's a cycle to everything, and we're at the very, very early stages of NFT gaming. And the lowest hanging fruit is building a game that has tokenomics where the value of the token, where it has some value there, and you're essentially just giving that out to players, right? And what I expect to happen is a lot of bunny hopping, right? Where people are going from one game to the next game to the next game, and they're not actually playing because of the enjoyment, and they're not addicted to playing that game due to the fun, immersive experience that they're having. They're just trying to get as much yield as possible. And that's fine, but it doesn't actually, you're not solving the issue there. And so with us, with our tokenomics, they're very sound in that we had Kane, our other brother, who was the founder of Synthetics. Which obviously helps quite a bit. He had a lot of influence on our original tokenomics, and we've taken a very similar governance and staking model to what Synthetics has. So that was like tried and tested. And then we've added in a few other features that make our tokenomics really, really cool, like SILV being immediately usable in game. But the most important thing is that we're not reliant on our tokenomics. we want to be able to say that if we stopped issuing any rewards, whether it be staking or in-game rewards, people will still play. That is the goal of what we put together. So yes, the tokenomics are very, very well thought out, but that's certainly not our be all and end all.
What would you say if you had to single out one thing that makes Illuvium really, really fun and addictive, what would that one trait, that one edge that Illuvium has, what would it be?
I'd say the graphics. I think what we've tried to do from day one, and I guess it's a collective of things, right? From the beginning, I said we need to make the characters collectible, right? Like that, we need to invoke that psychology of collecting, right? How do we do that? And you can go out and just say, here's a character, and this is what it looks like, and that's it. Or you can go out and say, here's a character that has a backstory to it. There's a reason why it's in that region. There's a reason why it has these abilities, and it's good against these other alluvials. And you start to build this narrative around each character, and we've already seen it. We don't even have a live game, and we already have people who are starting like these clubs and cults where they're like, I love that character. And so for us, I think it starts with the graphics being really, really, really high quality, like as cutting edge in gaming graphics as you can possibly go to, but then also adding in those lore elements and that backstory and giving people a reason. It's not just a pretty picture. There's more substance to it. There's more reason why I want to collect it. I think that's our biggest advantage.
As you were speaking, I can see that Pokemon influence there. One of the reasons Pokemon is super fun to collect and try catch 'em all is because of the lore and art animations. By animations, I mean the cartoon around it. Do you guys have any plans to expand the Illuvium lore and universe beyond the game itself?
Yeah, so the thing that I said to Aaron, like the benchmark that I said to him before he'd started writing the game design doc, was that we need to be able to turn this into a motion picture at some stage. That's what you're working towards. If you don't get it to that level, then start again, right? Like that's 100% what we need to get to. And I think that's exactly like we're trying to build a franchise here. We're trying to build something where people, you see merchandise in stores, there's a TV show, there's a movie. That's literally what we're trying to do here. And it seems crazy, and it's a lot to bite off, but it's definitely possible. And the exciting thing for us is we believe that play to earn is going to revolutionize gaming as a whole. And so if we were to do this without that, extra card there that we can play, then it becomes very, very hard to be that unique like there's been 50 other games prior to us that have tried to replicate what Pokemon has done. But Pokemon was so popular because the cards were so popular. And the thing about the cards was you could own them. You could physically have them in your hand. And so we think, and I definitely believe that this is going to be the case. People are going to have that same feeling where they're playing a game, and then all of a sudden you can give them the ability to physically own it and know that it's rare as well. So I don't know. I just think that the combination of pluses and positives that crypto brings, plus our ability to create characters that I think are this new age Pokemon style, I think we got a chance at doing it. And if we do, well, it's going to be a hell of a ride.
It really is. I'm thinking back to childhood, and so many of the most popular games that I was most attached to had some sort of thing I could own in real life. Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, easy. Those were the cards. But beyond that, I don't know if you remember Beyblades. There were these spinning things which you rolled. It was when you could take the cartoon out and bring it into real life. That's where it really had an impact. Now with the digital, with NFTs, it's so easy. The barrier to entry for that has just been made so low. But I feel people aren't moving fast enough. Like, why wouldn't someone like, I don't know, like if you had Pokemon right now, you could put all the cards on as NFTs. You could put every comic that comes out. You could like literally own the comic through NFTs as well. How long until people catch up? Are you guys worried that, say, a existing franchise with far more resources is going to step into the space and capture the majority of the pie? How do you think that's going to play out?
So, look, it's a delicate balance that you need to strike when creating a company, business, studio, whatever you want to call it. In our case, it's a DAO. But what I mean by that is these we've come out and we're giving 100% of revenues back to the people that are staked in the protocol. If you go to Riot and you say, hey, I've got this new idea where we're basically going to create a new game and we'll give 100% of the profits back to the players, the people at Riot are going to go, what are you talking about? We're obviously not doing that. That is the worst business decision ever. We'll just keep earning our own 100% of all the profits, right? Like that's the way that works. So I think, it would be naive to think that it's never going to happen, but I still think we are a long way off from those big guys entering into the market purely based on how crazy the business model would need to be in order for them to do it. Now, I think about that and I go, okay, what would have happened if Pokemon Go, right, when they did that massive launch a few years ago, what would have happened if they were NFTs and you could actually capture those and then sell them on the market? It would it obviously went ballistic with people, but I think you're talking like 10, 50, 100 times more crazy it goes, and that's the power of NFTs. But again, you then have to have the other attributes of a decent crypto project, which means decentralizing some of it. And I just don't think that companies that are that large are ready to start taking that plunge yet.
Yeah, that's a really solid counter to it, and one which I think a lot of people will mimic that sentiment, that you need to foundationally build a game designed to operate like this. It's very hard to pivot into it, but I'm sure some people will come up with some creative ways to do it. So where is Illuvium right now, and what are the upcoming things you're most excited for?
We're just about to launch our. When I say just about to, we're probably 7 weeks away from launching our trailer, and that trailer has been extended significantly. So we were originally going to have a minute of essentially what a lot of people have been waiting for, the gameplay. Now we've extended that to 3 minutes. We've got a lot of people working on this trailer, and it's the last thing before the public beta where we can really showcase and show people the quality that we're going with. So that's the thing that's I guess the closest. Shortly after that, we will have details of our land sale, which I think is going to be pretty big. We're basically building a mini game to support that land, and you'll be able to do some really cool stuff. It's like a city builder game, and essentially what you do on those plots, you'll be able to sell the resources that you mine from the plots of land that you have to the main game. and that's going to create a really cool dynamic between the main game and the mini game. And I think some cool game theory will pop up out of that. And then just gunning for our open beta. We want to get that out as soon as possible.
How far away are you from the open beta coming out? Is it months or is it years right now?
So a Q1 of next year.
Q1 of next year. Exciting times. What are the biggest obstacles leading up to that? What are the things that are going to be most challenging, do you think?
Yeah, so the first one, and probably definitely the largest one, is the time frame that we set for ourselves. Typically, a AAA game can take anywhere upwards of like 5 years to build. And obviously, I personally, I couldn't even do it. Like 5 years of developing something without actually launching it, I would think I would go insane. And so when we first looked at this, because Illuvium just slowly started getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and we started adding more and more and more scope to it. We're probably a little naive in going out with a release date of a 12-month development cycle. It's looking more like 18 months to 2 years, which is our biggest challenge, because originally people were expecting this thing to be late this year. Now it's going to be early next year, and you're a publicly traded token. It's any announcement that is negative is potentially going to have a detriment to the price of the token. And so that's probably our biggest challenge is keeping people's expectations managed, but also at the same time not succumbing to, okay, we need to just get this out because the people want something. We need to ensure that we're delivering on the promises that we've set, which is a AAA quality game.
And the token sale was done before the game because that's what's funding the game and the building of the game right now. So there's this huge community of investors that you guys have obligation to. So I imagine that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, it's oh look, I mean, it's like anything. If you we've put a target on our back. We have gone out there and we've hyped people up. We've leaked. We're unbelievably transparent with what we're building. In the beginning, Aaron was like, "This is insane." We've literally showed every single asset that we have off to the community, and to Von Neumann and I, we think, let's give them even more. It's all about building this game with the community, and we just think that we need to be as transparent as possible, show as much as we can off, and the pressure is the pressure. It is what it is. We've tried to go out with a crazy date, a crazy build quality, and now we've got to live up to the hype.
I'm looking forward to seeing it, and I can definitely, I'm definitely gonna bet on you guys being able to pull this off. Hopefully, a big global franchise one day, rivaling Pokemon. That would be incredible to see come out of the crypto space. And what I love about that is that just means everyone who's listening to this podcast, everyone who's in crypto, we all win, because the pie will grow so much if we manage to build a franchise of that level. And that's one of the best things about such an early space, is because it's not a very predatory market at all. Like, it can be if you want it to be, but everything we do that pushes the space forward just exponentially increases the value for all the existing users right now. So yeah, we'd love to see Illuvium succeed. Final question, because I have to jump into it. The burger app. What makes a perfect burger, and why did you make a burger app?
The perfect burger, it's actually a contentious topic, because it depends where you are in the world, whether you call a chicken burger, or if you call it a chicken sandwich. I mates of mine recently started this. We call them chicken burgers in Australia, so I'm going to call them a chicken burger. But recently started this chicken burger franchise, and it's based off a product in the US called 𝐏𝐻𝐸𝐴𝐻, which is essentially this Nashville fried chicken, which is like a very hot slash sweet slash like umami flavor. And you don't need much else on it. It's just a little bit of lettuce, no cheese or anything. So a lot of people don't even have sauce, and you just get so much flavor from that chicken. So that would be my favorite burger at the moment, is a Nashville fried burger. And and how I got into it. Basically, there was this Facebook group that I got invited to when there was only like 400 or 500 people in it. And it was all about these people who were eating burgers and then writing about it. And I like writing and talking shit and whatever. And so I would just go out to these burger places, and I would eat a burger, and I would be really really creative with my story, and I would talk pretty intently about what I thought about this burger, and I ended up thinking I don't know, it's definitely not sort of in my realms of things that I would get addicted to doing, but after a while I was just frustrated that there wasn't a better platform for us to be leaving our reviews. And so I was dumb enough to go, okay, let's build our own niche burger app. And now there's like, I don't know, 80,000 people on this app that literally run around Australia ordering and eating burgers. We ended up having a partnership with DoorDash. So I talk I talk poorly about it, but it actually is quite a neat little business.
I did not realize how successful it was. That's amazing, and probably my favorite quick entrepreneurial random ideas story I've heard. Congratulations on pulling it off, because I'm sure that wasn't easy to do either. What about a beef burger? What variables do you look for to make a nice beef burger? Because like as I'm going through reviewing these, it's hard to hone in on exactly what matters the most, and how to rate it, especially when they get different.
You got to get a smash patty. That's the key. So essentially, what that is you can either have a pressed patty or a smash patty. A pressed one is something that's already formed, and it just goes straight onto the grill, and you don't manipulate it at all. A smash patty is, you basically get a ball of meat, chuck it down onto an extremely hot grill, and then smear it over, trying to get it as thin as possible. And essentially, what you're creating is this really, really thick crust on both sides. And then as you're eating into the burger, there's way, way more flavor, but there's also that hint of a crunch, and it just takes a beef burger to the next level.
So if you're ever in Dubai, a place called 𝐏𝐻𝐸𝐽, it's got the most incredible smash burger. Highly recommend you check it out. Kieran, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on. Is there anything you'd like to leave our listeners with before we close out this episode?
Um, all I would say is, if you're looking to build in crypto, go the hard way, not the easy way, because it might seem like and it will be the easiest thing to do is to just smash together a product and try and get into the market as soon as possible. And because so much of this stuff is new, it's very enticing to think, oh, I'm just going to quickly go and do that. And we were heading down that path, and I think one of the best things that we did is take stock of the situation and go, okay, do we actually want to build something for a short-term gain, or do we want to build something that has real world value? And I'm so glad that we did. So yeah, I'll just leave you with that.
Meditators, that's all from us. I can't help but fully echo the sentiment of choosing the long term over the short term. It's normally requires a more difficult decision in the moment, but those more difficult decisions lead to a much easier life. Kieran, thank you so much for joining us. Make sure to check out Illuvium, guys. It looks pretty amazing. I'm excited for it, and we'll see you next time. Bye. This episode is another reminder of just how much is being built in the space and how much opportunity there is for everyone involved. And that is exactly why I have my research team write 6 free market meditations newsletters a week. We share the latest news and hot topics so you can stay up to date with the market. To access this, all you have to do is go to 𝐏𝐨𝐬𝐬𝐬.substack.com. If you enjoyed this episode but want to find out how you can profit from play to earn games, check out my episode with Bryson, who made over $1 million playing 𝐏𝐸∞.